Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Qualia. Today we have Vidya Nandakumar, better known as the Bookaholic Bookwart on Instagram. We talk with her about her love for books and a community which she is growing around her, and she is a part of the Bookstagram and the Booktube community. She takes us on her reading journey from picking up Chetan Bhagat's books to recommending Lust for Life to over 300 people. We also learn about how a school project leads her to join the BTS army. From books to being a woman. We had a lovely conversation with her. Let's get started. Vidya, welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Thank
I
you.
I know Vidya from the coaching class where I used to go to do my master's entrance, and she has an Instagram page where she reviews a lot of books, and she has a YouTube channel, and she writes a lot in WordPress. So we really thought that we have to bring someone in who has a lot of exposure to books and art and stuff, and we think we found the perfect match with her. So this episode will be with Vidya. Hope you enjoy. So Vidya, tell us about yourself.
Hi guys. I just completed my MSc in theoretical physics from Madras University. As Pradeep just said, I do some stuff around Instagram and WordPress and YouTube, which is related to books because I always loved books and reading books has been like my thing. So even though I don't do much, it's just like an introduction. I started my journey towards book from the end of 2019 and I think it's slowly growing. So yeah, that's it.
Also, Vidya, welcome to the show once again. What was it like growing up, and what were your life choices that shaped you as you are today? Just take us through that.
So I don't say like I have always read books because I was exposed to like reading books because of my mom and my dad was an avid reader. My dad is an avid reader, but English books and all like was introduced to me by my mom. My first memory of reading books were like when I was 3, when I was going to my grandparents' home in another state. I used to get this Tinkle comics. I hope you remember that small Tinkle comics. So my mom used to buy those when we were in train, and I started associating books with travel, and I just found a knack in reading and enjoying them. So I was reading those books until I was 8 or 9, but then there was a big gap in my reading, I can say, journey because of all the stuff that kept happening, and then there were board exams, so I couldn't read till I was 16. So again, by some unexpected turn of events I stumbled across Twilight series when I was 16, and from then I again started my reading, which was like as if I found a breath of air or a refreshment again, and that's how I think I started reading officially. And there were days when I was in my 19, I guess, I started watching these booktube channels. Like there are a lot of booktube channels which I didn't know existed. So I stumbled across a random booktube channel called Clockwork Reads, which is my favorite booktuber. It's made by Hannah. Like she has an exceptional choice of reading, and her bookshelf is like massive. Like she has some 600 books or something. So when started watching her towards 2019, towards the end of 2019, that's when I started. I was like, okay, let's start reading officially again, and since then I have been like doing this, like reading books and setting up my own library in my home and interacting with people over. I wanted a platform to interact about books as it's very, you guys know, right, how rare it is to find a bookworm around you, especially where I live. I wanted a medium, a platform to converse about books and talk about books, to share my feelings and to get recommendations in back. And that's how my Bookstagram page came into being. And slowly I started developing other platforms via that.
A slight reflection I have to what you just said is that in India we see that people generally don't read as much books as they should. A single visit to Amazon India's website shows that all Indians care about are the books of these entrance exams in our country. there is so little showcase of actual fiction and non-fiction books. So it's like I'm just curious about how how you over the years have developed this knack of reading these books, and how has your choice of books changed over the years? Like how does that arc look like?
Oh, that's very like that's a good question because like even I had a perspective like no one is reading. I'm the only bookworm in my vicinity. But I was met with a big shock when I started Bookstagram because there were so many co-readers with me from Chennai itself, and I was like, where were you guys all these years? Because like I was completely taken back because there were so many people with similar reading taste, and I don't think I would have met them in real life if I hadn't joined Bookstagram, which was a big blessing for me. And when the question arises like how my reading choice has changed, that's a like I used to read books which were very popular once upon a time. Like when I started in 2019, I used to watch all these booktubers like, and they used to hype or always talk about a certain book. They're constantly talking about a certain book, and I was like, oh my god, this book is famous. Obviously, we start with Chetan Bhagat if you are an Indian, and then there were like certain foreign writers such as Cassandra Clare or Holly Black, Tara Mafi. They are like they are like the base authors for beginners. And I started up with hype books and obviously self-help books. And I used to be addicted for self-help books. I don't know why, but it was a time like that. And over slowly a period of time, I could see like my taste was changing. Like I used to be a mystery thriller fan, I guess, but then it suddenly turned into like a fantasy. Like I always used to like read fantasy like anything because even if those books are like 600 or 700 pages, they are so intriguing that you can finish them in 2 days. So, and the story used to be so captivating. Then my taste changed from fantasy to historical fiction, and towards the beginning of 2021, I'm finding myself for a lot more thirst to get into classic and philosophical literature, like I was discussing it with Pradeep yesterday, like how I want to read and get into philosophical literature more, such as Friedrich Nietzsche and Dostoevsky. I want to read works by them and how I'm getting myself into poetry. I can clearly see my reading taste from an amateur to someone who has got into reading for quite a little time. I'm even excited to see where it's going to take me.
Actually, you said that nowadays you're more into the fantasy stuff, right? The fantasy and fiction stuff, right? I mean, like,
True.
what is it from self-help to fantasy? I mean, like, it's really radical from one end of the spectrum to another. It's like, how do you find your way from there to here? I mean, you just said that. What I believe is that the kind of art that we desire and we have passion to follow, I believe that it has something to do with the temporal position we are in life. At some point in life we will be really in need of some guidance, then self-help book might be a really good place to start. And at some point we just need things to get our head out of the reality, so we get into fiction and fantasies. So how do you see this? How do you see these changes, these several changes in genres that you see? Do you see that your life has been constantly evolving and your temporal positions have been evolving constantly with the big books you're reading?
I'm not saying like I don't read much of self-help. I used to a lot. But what I discovered along the way is like there are certain self-help books which really make you sit down and think to clear mind. And like there was this book called Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, which helped me a lot towards my BSc to MSc transition, which was a very difficult time for me. The main motto of that book is like, please don't take everything seriously and to do things in reverse and don't give like stress yourself with even the minimum thing. Like that book was like that. So there are certain books which will sit with you for, as Pradeep said, it's true, self-help books are purely situational based. If you're happy, you don't need a self-help book. But if you're sad, if you're depressed, self-help book is your go-to. But what I discovered over a period of time is like not every self-help book is out there to help you. There are some toxic positivity in certain books. What I find like I'm not a big fan of Robin Sharma because I don't know like there's nothing about the way like the content, but my taste doesn't sit with his writing. Like I started 5 a.m. club, like I enjoyed the first 10 pages, and after that I was like I shut the book down because like there was something like that didn't sit with me. So there are one thing like that in self-help books, and as I said, there's toxic positivity. So there are books which always preach you like you can do it, go for it, fake it till you make it. And I don't think that will be very good. Like if we keep on pretending like fake it till you make it, I don't think that will give us any real life benefits. So that was one thing I had with self-help books. And then towards fiction, fiction has always been my genre. Like whenever, even if I say I want to read philosophical stuff, if my brain gets a little saturated with too much philosophy, the first thing I go towards is fiction and fantasy because they help me with everything in my life. Like let it be a situation, let it be humor, or let it be just imagine a hopeless romance because this is like very null and void in my life. So yeah, so fiction and fantasy helped me with that. And the main thing I got from fiction and fantasy is empathy and the ability to read room. As someone like I'm always prone to people's emotion, as I always been like yeah, I'm very prone to people's emotion. I couldn't like understand what it was before reading books, but as I started reading fiction and I got to see characters handling their stuff and going through their life, I started to relate. Or maybe this is happening in my life. That character has gone through that. So what is that? I got to like name emotions. That is the biggest thing I got from fiction and fantasy. So yeah.
Actually, it's a very well articulated answer. I know the question wasn't such an easy question, but then as you talked about Manson, I want to tell you that me and Rohan both are such Manson fans. I love the
Oh,
way he wrote both the books, Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and Everything is Fucked. Actually,
everything.
we love both the books and we discussed it in detail. He
Uh,
doesn't just restrict himself to the self-help genre.
true.
He's not the kind of person who, as you said, the toxic positivity. He's not the person who talks about that. He takes references from philosophy, from history. He does everything. He brings it all and he consolidates it. And I want to talk about the final chapters of both those books. I mean, in the
Yes.
first book, he says that he went to this southern tip of Africa. Yeah, I mean, like the way he writes the book, it's really, really fantastic. And the characters he chooses to tell his stories. And I think even Rohan has written a blog on Vitol Polaki. Such fascinating
True.
characters, man. I mean, I saw a lot of people reading this books and posting photos of this book, but then I
Mm.
hadn't read it till last year. So when I read this book, I suddenly felt that okay, whatever was being told about this book, it wasn't being oversold, it is being undersold. I thought that this book deserves even more attention than what it's getting, which is really large, but then it's a really good book, man.
Yeah, like I love the way he must have articulated things such as like he would have said in a place like if you go to Russia, people are going not going to treat you like you can just go and smile at random people as you do it in America. He's like people like they're super honest in the way they don't sugarcoat your like their feelings. That's why many don't like Russians because they are very like straightforward. And if you go to America, like people are going to sugarcoat their feelings. And I that was the first time I felt like yeah, like you're true. Like even if we are doing something wrong, people will be like, oh my god, don't do that. Like Western culture has evolved like that. Even if you do something wrong, people will be like, oh my no god, honey, no, like you will grow out of it. You're like even if you are like not improving there, like be happy with where you are. I think like that's the thing like that hit me really hard when I read that book.
And what applies to the Western culture also applies to, pseudo Western culture like ours. So, yeah, I mean, like, those are really intricate points that he had to touch, and it was really beautiful the way he dealt with it in the book.
I'm actually like having my book in front of me as we speak. I have like annotated and tabulated certain things. Like it has been more than a year, and I'm going through them, and I was like, oh yeah. And in a page, I said like absolute freedom by itself means nothing, and like that line is staring at me right now. Like true, like he has written some really good things. Like that's what I say. Like from BSc to MSc, usually a transition is difficult, but from BSc to MSc, like it was like most uncertain time for me. So this book helped me a lot because I'm someone who takes things personally, like I used to be, I must say. Like even if it's a little thing, I was like, oh my god, people said that about me. Like I'm not like that. That doesn't define me. But in a way, this book helped me like not to take everything seriously. If people say something about you, it's not about you. It's their perspective about you. Like it doesn't define who you are. This book helped me a lot to get that meaning into my head in a hard way.
Yeah, Manson is in a way the ideal self-help book we could find in a way. So yeah, we could go on talking about Manson, but to reply to your answer, I must say here that the arc which you replied, like how you went on from reading Chetan Bhagat to self-help books to fantasy. I must tell here that it was the same thing that happened with me, where I started with these. I too had a love story, Chetan Bhagat novels, like, and then other romantic novels which you could find written by Indian authors. I went reading those to the self-help books, Robin Sharma, is like the man who sold his Ferrari, and
Mhm.
everything. And from there, like I found this whole area of non-fiction books. So I think, like, in a way, it's so fascinating how we all like start
True.
from the same thing and we end up on different things. So yeah, that is there. And moving on, like, Vidya, I have to ask this. Like, I recently heard in an interview where Tom Hanks was talking with Oprah Winfrey, where Hanks, to a question, replies that America is the only country in the world where people can dream to become whatever they want, even the president of the United States. But Oprah replied that it was easy for Hanks to say that because he looks at the world through the eyes of a privileged white male. Like Oprah here also ascertains the fact that America has never had a female president. So my
True.
question here is that I have, and this question is based on my observations with I had with my female friends. I saw that they have this extra layer of awareness. Like while men can go out at night, they don't have to worry about who's there on the street, like are the street lights working or not. They when they enter into a lift, they don't have to worry about like who's in there and like is it safe or not. So as a female, like I wanted to ask you your perspective on this. Like when did you especially became aware of this extra layer of awareness? I ask this honestly because most men around me don't seem to realize the presence of this.
Being a girl, especially being head, like the first child of your family, especially in a Indian household or any brown household, from a very young age you start to hearing all this nonsense such as don't dress in such a way, like don't go after this time, and like sit in a certain way. Like there are certain stereotypes which you won't understand when until you come a little, like until you grow a certain age. It has always been that case, but by God's grace, like my parents are really open-minded. They never oppose me like going out or anything like that. But as you said, like going in the street without street lights, like it's very scary because there are times when you sit watch. You can't sit down and watch news channels in peace, especially if your parents who are having female child. One day you'll be hearing one gruesome news, the other day it will be some other gruesome news, and I think it's the panic which causes them to restrictive, and also the panic in us because recently a feminist page in Instagram did a survey like if men weren't in the world, like what you will be doing, and the 80% of comments I must say was to like walk freely at like in roads at night, which was like very sad because like we may never know what is lurking at the dark. We with what we are saying is like not all the men are like that, but certain men are like that, and it definitely creates like what say a scare and insecurity in us. Even though whatever we do, how much ever we evolve, we are in like the 21st century, and yet there's that thing like we can't, like we are like equals, like but why can't we walk freely in the streets? Because yeah, that's that. And can you come again, Rohan? That was one question. I forgot the other thing.
I just wanted to know, like, if you remember, like, when did you become aware of this extra layer that you had to have as a result of being a female?
Like if I must be if I must be truthful, it was in my ninth grade when I was going to my school in public transport. Like so many of like 78% of females have experienced through sexual harassment, subtle sexual harassments in public transports, which I read only as a survey until I started traveling alone in a school uniform into my school in public transport, and I had to come in first-hand experience with that. That was the first time I was completely blown out of my mind, like what's happening to me? Because like there are certain things that will happen in public transport which will remain inside us forever. So that was the first thing I had to go through, and that was the first time I became aware of this extra layer. And luckily, like I didn't experience much after that. And I got to like to a peaceful college, and then I had everything well and nice until now. But recently I'm coming with this thing called like I'm 22 now. I don't think my parents will like leave me, even though I'll be independent, even though I'll earn. I don't think my parents will leave me to live my life until I alone until I'm 30 or something. Obviously, they are going to get me married when I'm 25. So that is the another layer of that is another time I realized like what it is like to be a female and how it is like you don't get to do a lot of things. You can't like live your own life until you're 30. You can't put your dream forward. Like obviously I'll put my dream. There's no way it's going to like stop me. But still, there's always like a limited time, a limited quota. Like you should get married at that, especially girls should get married at this age, and you should have your babies at this age. Then you should enter the phase of motherhood at this age, and you have to look after your babies. Even though you are like independent, you have read so much, you do whatever. Even though you became the president of India, whatever, this thing will always persist you. Even if you are going to take a decision of yourself, there's always going to be a society who's going to talk about you.
And Vidya, I'm like very sorry to hear that, like what happened to you. I wish it didn't happen. Say a woman faces any harassment and she goes out into the news and tells it. It's always parents then again telling their female children that tomorrow take care, don't stay late, don't like they restrict the female child more hearing. I wish they would have told their male child that doing this is wrong and doing that to women is wrong. I wish that sort of dialogue happened more than the previous one. So yeah, I'm very sorry for what happened.
Is it a bit too gloomy in here? But then, I mean, like this extra layer of awareness, it is a product of evolution. It said
Yeah.
that man is the only animal who hunts for pleasure, right?
Hmm.
And no other species in the known animal kingdom to do that. And
Yeah.
moreover, I think that this has a lot to do with the stereotypes that we have and the conservatism. I think that if libertarianism is a big problem in the Western countries, I think that conservatism is an
Uh,
equally big problem in Eastern countries,
yes.
especially in a country like India, where I believe the morals and even the law has been intertwined with religious systems. I feel it to be really, really backward, and I feel that this leaves a lot of gaps. Like for example, there is this condition that you can't. There is no premarital sex. Premarital sex is so much taboo in India and stuff. But I think where the problem lies is with that people who make norms without thinking about the consequences those norms could have on different strata of issues. And I think people are willfully blind towards this. They know that this is the problem, but still they're not ready to tackle it. I'm really sorry to listen to that. But then I think that the mentality of people of our generation and the previous generation, people who are alive, has to change, and it has to be somewhat coherent, and it has to be a function of time.
I have seen like our generation as like again I have to come to Instagram because I have seen so many beautiful girls like coming out with courses, and they're so inspirational. They are like they are holding people accountable. That's the thing we never did in the past. But we can see 14 years, 15-year-old kids, like I shouldn't say kids, but like yeah, they are kids to me. Like they're holding people accountable. If someone comes wrong, like and speaks wrongfully to them in their DMs or comments, they are like exposing them. And like the power you can see in the community, especially that's one other thing in Bookstagram community. I have seen certain communities like people will be talking in all the directions and no one will be like paying attention, but Bookstagram community is something very beautiful. If there's a single cause and a certain person is fighting with the cause, like everyone will come collectively for that cause. So certain there are times where I felt proud or even bold because like a certain thing would have happened to a certain girl and she would have exposed them in the comments, and the entire community will stand and they won't get down until the upset person like was punished or like got something severe. That's one thing is very beautiful. And I have mothers like who are like in their 27 or 28 and like they are like becoming mothers, and how well like they are educating their children, like they are speaking about menstruation, female equality, how you should treat a female to their young kids like boys, male child. And it's very fascinating. I'm interested to see how our next generation, how we will lead a way to our next generation and how responsible we will be towards them. And like it's very fascinating to see that. It's a little hopeful.
That's a very great answer. Like you took it very gracefully with you. And one more thing that I must ask is like you frequently mention about this Bookstagram community that you are in, and I must ask you that because like you have this username of yours, Book of Holic Bookwhat.
But
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So
yeah,
yeah, and then to the audience, those who are listening to this is Vidya's Instagram ID, and it will be in the link show notes below. And like so, Vidya, what does this username mean? And then I realized that, and also this is the first part of a two-part question, and also realized that at a point you have tried everything like Twitter, Instagram, WordPress blog, Goodreads, and I think you even have a YouTube channel, and your posts are almost about the things you read. It's like you are finding this book community in like every social network that exists. Like, tell me more about this books community in this whole social media space.
how I came up with the name is like little interesting. Actually, how I started my Instagram page is more interesting because that was a random February of 2019. I had no I was sitting super bored and I was scrolling through Pinterest. I wasn't a fan of Pinterest before that because I didn't even venture in that. But let me say, Pinterest is the most underrated and the most beautiful app to ever exist. Like Pinterest is like one of the best apps I've ever discovered in my entire life. So that was my first time encountering Pinterest. I was scrolling and I came across certain bookworm memes. Like he started with memes generally, and I was like, okay, there's a thing so people are doing this. Like there are shots like this. Let's just take a picture and like upload in my Instagram. Before that, I had my Instagram as Vidyananda Kumar, like which was pathetic and was not used for like 3 to 4 years. Then once I blogged in, I started posting pictures, and I had some 100 followers, or something who were like very encouraging, and I got to know people like they read so many books, and their reading taste was like out of my scope. I didn't even knew these things existed. And then I was sitting and I was like, okay, first let's do a catchy username. So I come up with this Bookaholic Bookwhat. I don't know, like I can't reason with myself how I came with this. First thing, like in the Bookaholic, it's a combination of book, coffee, and holic. So it's Bookaholic. And Bookwhat was book and Hogwarts. Don't ask me how I did that. I just came with that on a random evening. I'm not like very proud of that. So that's how my username was born. And since I start like changed my username, people started like noticing like the book in the username, and I started gaining followers more and more. And I started to discover like people love my pictures and people love what I have to say about books. People love what I like review, how I review books. And it was my first time like coming into terms like there are people who are interested in my work and there are people who are interested to listen me talk about books. And that was like the biggest moment like in my life. And then I started growing, like connecting more and more into this community. And I, like, as I said, like, they are like one of the most beautiful people who understand what you're going through, who have been through certain things just like you. And there are like common words such as slumps, reading slumps, and like getting your anxiety over a certain character. I didn't have a platform to fangirl over a character, and Bookstagram gave me that platform. We will like a group of 10 or 15 will collectively cry over a character who was killed by the author. And it's a beautiful community. And when it comes to booktube, which is like books on YouTube, as I said, my first inspiration is Clockwork Reads. Anna, she's such a beautiful soul, and the way I'm speaking, I must tell you, I wasn't speaking like this a year or two ago. I used to speak in English, but like there was something off, or I couldn't articulate or put the right words, if I must say. So obviously, reading gave me the handle, the weapon to use the right word at the right time and to express and articulate my emotions in a perfect way. And my primary example for that was Hannah, because she used to describe books in such a whimsical way. I was constantly fascinated by her, and I was always a fan. Even now, if she replies to any of my DMs in Instagram, you can find me jumping in my room. Yeah, I'm such a fangirl to her. And the next person would be like Reagan from Per Use Project. I have never seen any person who can narrate, summarize a book or like express the blurb of a book in such a structural way than Reagan. Reagan does all these vlogs where she's working in a marketing field. She's a history major, yet she reads books during the weekends and she would like make vlogs of that. And she was the first person who made me realize you can have a balance between work life as well as your reading. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And the way she reviews book is like top notch. And recent faves of mine have been Emma from Emmy Reads. She reads Russian literature and classics like my goodness. My knowledge and my thirst for philosophical books is because of her. So this is what BookTube has been for me. It has like thrown me into a wide arena of so many different beautiful peoples, and I'm at a position where I can't choose. It's like that, and the way you see those people speak, it just will give you so much hope, so much confidence, and it just like how can I describe this? Like drinking a hot chocolate on a rainy night. It's like a feeling like that. So this is how my experience have been with book community, and let it be in booktube or in bookstagram.
Oh, lot to unpack there, and I think when you explained that how you found your ID, Bookaholic Bookwhat, I think that's the way you explained and the story that led to you having that username. I think that's what people mean when they say journey is important than the goal. And one more thing is that you told like how you're finding so many books and you're not able to read them all. I'm just going to ask you this, that do you feel depressed knowing that you won't be able to read all the books in the world?
No, like it's a common question, I guess. Like I don't pressurize myself with, oh my God, I can't read all the books in the world. That's like next to impossible because there are thousands to thousands of Wikipedia pages, and I can't obviously memorize them. And it's like something like that. Books are I believe books are things which you won't search, but will come to you. They will come to you, not you going towards them. I believe in that very strongly, and I have come in terms with the fact that no, I won't be reading all the books in the world. But when I'm 60 or 70, or I'll be bold enough to say 80, I just want to sit and stare at my bookshelf and realize that I have encountered some really beautiful life in my life. I haven't lived one life, but thousands and thousands. And I think if I look at my bookshelf when I'm 80, and I think I have grown mentally and like mature with them, and I have like got to hear their story, and they have altered my life. I think that would be enough for them, enough for me, rather than me reading all the books that exist in the world.
So, Vidya, you've learned a lot of books. Can you tell for us, can you describe, when I say favorite book, which is the first book that comes to your mind, and can you describe it for us in your own words?
So, like, I came across this book in the book fair of 2020, Chennai Book Fair 2020. I was randomly going through certain stalls, and I came with a beautiful book called The Lust for Life by Irving Stone. That book is a fictional biography of Vincent van Gogh. If I'm pronouncing his name, please don't come at me. It's Vincent van Gogh. Yeah, like I have seen people come at me for mispronouncing his name. So yeah, like it's a fictional biography on his life done by Irving Stone. And if you ask me anything about Vincent before that, I would be like, no, I don't know anything except like he's the artist who like made the masterpiece Starry Night, and all I knew was that. But I read that book during like the month of March, and it came exactly with my birthday, like towards March 20th to 23. And I rarely cry over books, but I sobbed like anything for that book because I knew what was coming. I knew like the base story of Vincent's life, how he never got popular when he was living. He was never recognized for his talents, and how like he like committed suicide. He had to take his own life just because he came to know like his passion for painting has gone. Like he was a man of intelligence and passion. Like everything in his life has been passion. He will like one day he'll be sitting, suddenly he'll decide to draw a painting. Suddenly he'll decide to sketch something, and he was a man of himself. And I never knew a lot about him until I encountered with this book. And Irving Stone's writing will make you cry. Even you are a person who has cold heart, who doesn't cry very often or like very easily. Irving Stone's writing will like make you sob like a baby. So this book it like opens with Vincent's love being rejected by a girl and how he carries on with that emotions. All Vincent wanted throughout his life was to have a peaceful life at home with a wife, a kid to whom he could return and like have a family, like a life with his family. But till the end, he couldn't get that. So he took certain bad decisions. But I can't say what was going in his mind. But all I can say was like he was a man of passion. Like we encounter Vincent, his rejections, then how he goes down the path, how he wants to become a minister, and how he is dedicated towards that role. And then one day he decides like this is not for me, and then he starts sketching and how his life goes on, especially his life in roads. I never knew about like Athens and roads. I never knew how he went through that. And this book articulated it so much. His struggle with epilepsy, and my goodness. And towards the end, when he's in asylum, you know what's going to happen. And the way this author would have described that, I don't think like any other book has hit me this hard because the sheer fact that Vincent was once an amateur, then went on to become the greatest imperial artist was like a big thing to me because that was the time I was struggling with my syllabus in MSc and I had certain difficulties with certain subjects and I was like about to give up. That's when this book showed up. Like just as I said, books come to you when they want it. You don't go to them because of that, this book hit me very hard, knowing that he had gone through something just like me and he has aced it, but he couldn't see the value, couldn't like, he wasn't there to see the fruit of his work. And it's very hard for a bookworm to tell one particular book as their favorite because we read a lot. But this book, I'll say, I'm very sure, like till the end, this book is going to my favorite book.
Vidya, that was such a beautiful answer, and I would also like you and the listeners to check out this Doctor Who episode. Doctor Who is a BBC series. Yeah, it's known as the Vincent and the Doctor, where the Doctor goes into the past to Vincent and shows him how successful he is in the future. It's just like makes you sob and makes you think like how an artist suffers
I
to.
cried bad over that episode.
Yeah, it's like it's very true, and like I hope I have never seen something which was as emotional as that episode. So yeah, I would like the listeners to go and visit that. And moving on, Vidya, in one of your YouTube videos where you show those lovely bookshelves that you have, there is a poster of BTS near your desk. Like I have to ask this because personally, I have never heard a K-pop song till date, and assuming that you don't know Korean, I must ask this that I feel that music and lyrics both are needed to make sense for me to like a song. I'm just curious to know how can one love them, the BTS and other K-pop song when they don't even understand the lyrics. Like I'm just curious. It's not like it's bad or something. I'm just
I can
curious.
understand. I get this question usually. Like many ask me, like even in my relatives, they're like, "How can you don't even understand Korean?" But I have been a BTS fan since 2014. Like I discovered them. It was a very fateful coincidence also. Like I was going through YouTube for a school project. I just typed Dream, and instead of Dream, their first song No More Dreams appeared. And I was like, what the hell is it? Okay, let's just check out. Like it was like a pop song, and I checked out. Like that was November of 2014, and I am a BTS army till now. Like at first, I didn't understand anything. The first thing I got hooked to them was because of their song and their dance, the music. Their music was the prime thing. And once like there are websites which will like there are certain sites like in YouTube itself which will put their lyrics into transcripts, like they'll translate it into English, and that was the time where I started like following all their works. And there was this one song called Tomorrow, which was co-written and composed by Suga of like BTS, and that's I have never heard a song which touched my life so deep and so hard like that song. And that was when I decided, okay, I'm going to stay with this group for a time. And as you know, they have evolved over a period of time, and now they are like sensation. But there were times when they were looked down, they weren't quite popular, and I had seen them through everything. And the attitude that they portrayed from the beginning, like being humble till date, like it's like an inspiration. Many ask me like, why are like girls like going crazy over BTS? Like, it's not like we are going crazy over BTS. It's just like they are like a beacon of hope for many of us, because like their words, their lyrics, their motto in life either is like achieving a dream or rekindling a passion, or if you don't even have a dream, it's like living a life happily without anything. They just wanted to give us hope, which was very very difficult to find, and I think that's why girls go crazy over them. And as you said, how you can't like, how about understanding the lyrics? Like there are certain YouTube channels such as Stay Gucci and Lemonora and all these sites which will translate their music videos, like what to say, like the music will be going, but you can see the lyrics like in subtitles in English, and they're like certain perfect lyrics, because like once you start hearing them again and again over a period of time, you will start understanding Korean. Because as someone who has spent 6 years in like watching their songs and their K dramas, like you will start understanding Korean, and once you compare the translations are apt, you can say, yeah, that is how, that's the same thing that is translated in English, and English is what conveys their meaning to us.
So, Vidya, I didn't get a chance to reflect upon your description of your favorite book, Lust for Life. I mean, like what you said, it was just amazing. It made me want to read the book, and I'm
Me
definitely
too,
going to
I'm
buy that
waiting.
book.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like I'll be very happy like if you could buy that book, because like I would have recommended that to like at least 200 to 300 people in Instagram. Like now they have started associating that book with my account. Like whenever someone says Bookaholic book, what they'll be like, oh, she was the one who recommended Lust for Life. I've marketed it to my maximum.
Actually, the way you said it was amazing. So I'll definitely read it. And we're now at the end of the show. And Vidya, you've been an amazing guest. And you've really talked some sensible stuff here. And the way you look at books and the way you look at art, I think it's one of a kind. So keep doing what you're doing. And guys, this is Vidya. And thank you, Vidya, for joining us in this wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Like I really had a great time.
That's it for this episode of Qualia. We have great conversations lined up for you in the future episode. And do send us your valuable feedback so that we could make Qualia a better listening experience for you. You could reach out to us on Instagram at pod_qualia or send us mail at pod.qualia@gmail.com. See you in the next one.